Welcome back, Becky Brouwer, to part two of our conversation. Part one was so incredible. I feel like I could levitate a little bit. You know?
Well, thank you for having me back.
Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, let's get to know you a little bit more. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word would have to be love.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. I think it would probably be a lot of people's favorite because we think about what it means and how how it shows up in our lives and how we feel and all of that. What about your least favorite word?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think love is kind of the center of the universe. And if we can get there, then, we've got joy and peace and all of those kinds of things. And so the other one would be hate. And
Yes.
I would say because like I really did not like it when my kids would say, I hate this food or I hate, how she's treating me. And I would always cringe when I'd hear them say hate. And so I'd always try to help them to reword it. And so one time my daughter, she's like, I said, well, hate is a really strong word. We should really not use that. And she looked at me and she said, I feel really strong right now, Mom, and I really hate this. It's like, okay, tell me your feelings. You're right. We're not going to repress those, but yeah.
Oh, oh, that's great. Yes. We can say, I love that pasta. I love that salad. I hate that show. I mean, we kind of misuse it in that way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't want to say it's lost its power, but we've watered it down in those common everyday contexts in which we use them. But at the core of it, the purity of it, I love where you're going with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to tell my kids if they didn't like what I cooked for them, instead of saying, oh, I hate this, they could say, thank you so much for this delicious meal. So I totally brainwashed them. But at the time, it seemed like a really good idea to tell them that.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. It'll be interesting to see what they do with their kids.
Right? Yeah.
They'll understand a little bit better.
Yep.
All right, your favorite sound.
Favorite sound. Birds. I love hearing birds.
Uh,
I love being out in nature and different types of birds. I mean, the different places that we've lived have taught me to look for birds a little bit more because there's
right,
different ones in everywhere you go. And so I really love
right.
the sound of birds because it means I'm
Oh,
outside.
it's very cheerful too, isn't it?
Yeah, for
And your
sure.
least favorite sound.
My alarm to get up in the morning. Like, oh,
Oh, for sure.
give me another
Oh,
10
for
minutes.
sure. Right, exactly. Have you ever been told you look like someone famous? And if so, who was it?
I don't know if I have. I don't know. Who do I look like?
I don't know. I'd have to give that some thought. Nobody in
Yeah.
particular is coming to mind, but I just think it's a fun question because sometimes,
Yeah, sometimes you
people
do
come
get
up with
things.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
exactly.
Who
No
have you
wrong
been
answers
told?
here.
Who have you been told
Oh
you
my
look like?
gosh, so many people. It's kind of almost ridiculous. Jennifer Beals, all of the brunette Charlie's Angels way back in the day, Lily Tomlin. I mean, it's,
I
when I
could
was
see
like,
that.
oh, okay. Wasn't no offense to Lily Tomlin, didn't feel like I looked like her. And yeah, so
That's funny.
it's just kind of fun. Rachel
Yeah.
Ward. I mean, I think anybody that was brunette, and that was when my hair was darker,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, okay, all right.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, nope. I can't think of anybody that, yeah, they've told me I look like. I'm very unique.
I love that. Yes. Is there something that's really moving you right now? A book, a movie, a TV show, other? I mean, what's really moving you right now?
Well, I would have to say I talked about in the first episode about Julian of Norwich, and so her writings, Revelations of Divine Love, I've really thought a lot about. The book I'm reading right now is 11. Oh, what's it called? I'm going to look it up really quick. Um, it's a Stephen King book.
Okay.
And it's about JFK, 11/22/63. I was just trying to remember the date. It's called
Ah,
11/22/63, and it's kind of a time travel book, and it's really good, really
oh,
interesting. It makes me kind of think about, like, could you change the past, and how what would be the ramifications, and whatever.
oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
So does he, I mean, we know him as somewhat of a horror genre writer.
yes.
So is it get into that, or is he kind of, this is completely different
Not
from what he normally
yet.
does?
There's some
Okay.
suspense. And I imagine, I mean, yes, I think it'll probably get a little bit into horror because there is some foreshadowing to some terrible murders that are going to happen. So
Oh, okay. Oh my
we'll
gosh.
see.
Okay. Well, keep me posted. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
All right, Becky, if you could donate $1 million to any charity, what charity would you choose?
Well, I had to think about this because there's a lot of charities that I support, and so if I had $1 million, there's a couple different things that I might do with that. I might give to a lot of different charities. Like, there's several different ones that I kind of there's Rise and Rebuild, which is a Philippine project that they feed 7,000 children every single day.
Oh my gosh.
And they are making a huge difference in that country and helping people to be more self-reliant as well. So I love that. I also have a friend who runs To Ukraine with Love, and they build housings for people who have been displaced because of the Russia-Ukraine war. And they've been super successful with matching donors with people who need housing. There's another one
That's
called
great.
Bellwether that works with leaders about preventing genocide. That they've been pretty successful. I also donate to my church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and
Right.
they do some good things. But I think if I had $1 million, I would make it an endowment probably. And
Oh,
my husband and I have talked about doing something like this actually, where we would provide funds for, like, scholarships for people who wanted to get certifications or go to trade schools. But we kind of have talked about maybe putting a coaching arm onto that,
oh,
where because I was talking to my nephew who is doing trade school right now. He's doing diesel mechanics, and he said he's one of five that are left from the program that started with 20 or something like that. And I said, yeah, it doesn't sound like money is necessarily the problem here. That it's this grit and this resilience and this persistence. And so what if we added a coaching program onto this donation that we're doing to help people to know have some accountability, and to, have the resources to be able to get the certification, have a place where they can, and then have somebody to talk to be able to work through all the other things that are preventing them
yes.
from
Yeah.
finishing their education. So, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Preventing them from being successful. That is such a great
Yeah.
idea. And my just guess is that if we had a coaching arm on a lot of different things, there would be more success because
Yeah.
we don't know what other people are going through and why they're not able to sort of bring their best a little more consistently.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say I listened to your podcast episode with Ukraine with Love. That
Yeah.
was very good and very interesting. Thank
Yeah.
you for all the good you're doing with your podcast, Cindy Mom. Little plug there. All right,
Thank you.
so now let's do our deep dive. As you know, you're the first guest in our new series, What's with All the Coaches and Why
Yep.
You Might Need One. So let's go to part two, our questions about coaching. What made you decide to become a coach?
Well, I think a lot of it was because of the podcast that I started. So sendymom.com or sendymom. And as I was doing these interviews, I've listened to Jody Moore for a long time. But as I'm doing these interviews, I thought, well, I wonder if this would help me to be a better interviewer, to be able to come up with some new
Hmm.
things to talk about, and ways to have conversations that would lead to better places for people. And so, but I wasn't just gonna, even though I'd listened to Jody for a long time, I thought I'm gonna go and research a few other programs. And so I did. I had some good conversations with other people who had I went to the life coach school. I talked to other people who had been part of, the doTERRA programs that they do. I talked to a lady who works mostly with hospitals and doctors and things like that. And so I did a lot of research, and I came back to Jody's program just because of the structure of it. I like being able to have the practice with feedback. And I like just the way, and that it is a 9-month program and not like a 4-hour program. I wanted the information more than I wanted necessarily the certification.
Right. Oh, that's really good to be able to practice it and get feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
hmm
good. What problem do you want to help people solve in becoming a coach or challenge? I like the word challenge better, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, I think I've been really drawn to people who are in the second half of life, or if they're having a major transition. Like I had a friend who we went out to dinner with him, and he and his wife, and he had retired a few years earlier, and he kind of got kind of real and was like, I don't know what if I have anything left to give. I don't know if if this is as good as it gets, if I'm, like if there's anything that I can give to the world, and just feeling kind of this loss of hope, particularly, after you've reached this point in your life where, you've built a business or a career, you've raised a family, you've done all of the right things. And yet you kind of still feel like something is still stirring, like there's still something that you can give to the world. Right. And so listening to him and thinking about like the people that I talk to on my podcast about being courageous and things like that has really drawn me to these type of people that are trying to basically design a legacy for themselves and for their families that is going to have generational impact. That they can heal wounds from generations before and be able to design the kind of life that they want to have, but also the kind of impact that they're going to have on the world and on their family.
Right. I like how you've really taken that midlife transition and really just put it in such great terms of the now, but then also the what's ahead for
Yes.
for future generations. Well,
hmm
that is great. And so in that way, you're telling us who you want to help. And is it any more specific? I mean, obviously the second half, it sounds like you're talking to parents, right?
Yeah, like high capacity parents, right? That are, feel like maybe they're drifting a little bit, to help them to just start designing this second half of life. Maybe they're just restless. People who, high capacity parents who are a little bit restless, and they just don't want to waste this second half of their life and actually have a purpose and design that. And the thing that I really want to help people to understand is that there is no defined path that you must walk.
Yes.
Right? And we get so caught up in what's my purpose? Which direction should I go? And what does God want for me? All of these different things are kind of limiting beliefs that keep you from moving forward because you're afraid you're going to do it wrong. Of course you do.
Yeah.
You're worried you're going to
Right.
make the wrong choice of which direction you're going to go. But if you are given the freedom to design your own life, where could you go with that? And could you still be a good person and do all, XYZ? Do you have to stay in this prescribed path? It actually gives you so much more power when you can realize that. So I really, that would be the first part that I would do is like, help people to see this story that they've been telling themselves. Oh, there is a plan God's got for me, and I got to find that. I'm going to go look for that plan that God's got for me, right? And they spend so much of their life trying to figure out, like, oh, what does God want for me? Or what is my path? And who are the people? And they're so worried about that they miss out on all the joy they could be
Yeah.
having right now.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, I believe that exactly. And the fact that in some of my practice coaching calls or whatever that we're going through through right now in this phase of our training, is hearing people say the right decision
Yeah.
as if there was, like you say, narrow, there was only one. And it's like, no, no, no. How about just a good choice that is kind of leading you up to that same goal, but there are so many ways to get there.
Yeah, a choice, not even a good choice, just a
Oh, a
choice.
choice. That's even
Make
better.
a
Yes.
choice, right?
Right.
And then you get to where either way, understanding that there are lots of different paths up to the mountain you want to get to is really liberating because then it means you can choose any of those paths to get to that place. And so look at that result where you want to be and then just say, "Oh, okay, there's this way. I could think of it this way. I could do, there's just lots of choices and to open that up for people gives them a lot more power."
And I also think that even when you've made a choice and you start down that path, you can also say, oh, this path doesn't feel that good anymore. I'm going to hop over to this path. And
Absolutely.
I think people feel like once they make a choice, they're stuck with that choice.
Oh
And
yeah.
so often you can do the pivot or just go, oh, I don't want that quite like that anymore. Now I'm going to head this way. And so you can just keep, you're still heading up, but you're just, it's okay to change paths. I
Oh,
think
I've done it so many times in my life. And I had a friend explain it to me once that it's like points like dots all over the place. You've got these, you did this and then you have this family and you did, you were volunteered for this and you got this degree and all these different points. And at some point, and you can't see how they're all related, but at some point it's a beautiful dot to dot. And you're just following these dots all around and it makes this beautiful picture that becomes who you are. And so often, like people like us who do that feel like, well, we just can't commit to anything. And like, oh, why can't I just stick with one thing and whatever? And actually that's one way to do it. And that's totally fine. And I learned this recently that people who do lots of different things, like climb up this mountain, go down, climb up this mountain, whatever, they're called polymaths. And people
ah,
like Benjamin Franklin, Leonardo da Vinci, these people who had so many different talents. Einstein, was a musician and he was a scientist, and they bridge these paths together, and that's what makes the things that they do so much more interesting and relatable to many more people. So there is nothing
right,
wrong with trying new things, figuring it out, and being like, oh, that didn't work. Let's go try something else. I mean, I was a piano
right.
teacher for a long time, and then I wasn't. Now I'm doing. Then I decided, no, I don't have to be doing this all the time, and I'm closing that chapter and I'm opening another. I didn't fail. I just
No.
closed it.
And why do you think we have such a fear of what quote unquote failure?
Well, I think that, well, Rochelle, it comes back to our caveman brain, right? That's trying to protect us. And so if we failed, then they might just, kick us out of the tribe. And that would be really, rejection, whatever, and what are people going to think? And so I think that's the main driver for feeling like we failed something is because we're afraid of what we're going to think of ourselves and what we think that other people are going to think of us too. And so if we can get around that, or if we can get rid of that thought that I'm a failure, it's really just I'm a failure, I failed, whatever that thought is. If you can get around that and not have that thought, but instead like I closed this chapter. I'm opening a new chapter. How
Right,
much more powerful is that
right.
than I
Exactly.
failed, you know?
And the other thing that I just wanted to chat with you about for a minute is so, when we're younger, when we're kids, we think, okay, so I'm going to go through school. I'm probably going to go to college. I'm probably going to get married. I'm probably going to have kids. That's kind of the trajectory most of us go on. But we don't think much about, well, what happens after that? We don't,
Yeah.
that third act or that midlife. I mean, once the kids are gone. It's not just about having an empty nest because you're sort of returning back to yourself, but we don't think about that much. So I wonder if that's part of why so many of us feel lost because we sort of had these guideposts or goalposts or whatever that we thought we were going to reach, and probably we did reach a lot of them, most of them, whatever. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, oh, what
Now what?
now what? What do I do now? And I
Yeah.
wonder if that's why people feel lost and stuck and all of that. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that is a very real sort of a feeling, and it just goes back to the whole, feeling like a victim of your circumstances. And that I mean that whole idea of there's one path for me, and if I don't choose it, I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to make a big mistake. I'm going to be a failure. What are people going to think or whatever? But we all are going to get to these crossroads in our lives where we don't know which direction to go, and so that's why having a coach can actually help you to kind of clarify some of those places where you could go, or where your mind already kind of knows it wants to go, because there you could do anything. It's like I was just talking to a lady this morning, and she's been she just feels stuck, and she's divorced. She's got a 10-year-old daughter that she's been homeschooling, realizing that maybe she wants to move away from her parent, because she's been living at her parents' house for all this time, and she's afraid of doing it. And I asked her about what was there a time in her life when she felt like she could accomplish the task that she wanted to, and she said, yeah, when I was little, I always thought if I wanted to do it, I could do it. And I was like, what happened to that little girl? Where is she now? And she just could not believe that thought anymore. We have these experiences in our lives where we literally block ourselves from moving forward. When we're
Right.
young, we can think, I can take a step forward. I can do anything. But as we get older and we have experiences, we have failures, whatever that looks like for you, because it's different for everyone, and we start limiting ourselves. But if we can go back to that childlike person of, if I want to do it, I can do it. That's going to be opening up so many more doors.
Yes, and not being stuck. And it's like you're already you, but we want to encourage you to expand. We don't
Yes.
want you to be someone you're not. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being you, but expanding out in all that you can be while you're here. And that's
And
kind
being
of,
more of you.
yes, more of you.
And understanding
Exactly.
that what you have been hiding. I mean, what if, I think Jody said this, like, what if, you think you've had a life that's like at an 8 or 9 or something like that. But what if the scale was skewed and you actually are only living a life that's a 3, and you have so much more potential than what you think that you do?
Right.
Right. And that's what I hope to help my clients with, is to be able to help them see that there is so much more potential and so many other opportunities that they just don't even realize are out there for them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Well, I obviously we speak the same language because we're in this training together, and so
It would be
many
more
of
fun if
us.
you would fight with me, though, Rochelle.
Yeah, would it? Okay. Oh, okay. So, so for those listening, what could they look for when hiring a coach? What is your advice on that? What should they look for?
I think, coach, I mean, it's really about just taking the step and just signing up. Right? Find out from, if sometimes it comes from a recommendation from somebody, or a podcast you hear, or something you see on social media or whatever, that you learn about somebody. They do say it takes, like usually average of about 7 hours consumption of somebody's work to be able to to make a decision. But it doesn't have to be that. You can hear about somebody and say, I think I'm going to try this out, and then, like you said, you can always change. You go one time, and you can kind of tell. And maybe you even go one time and then they help you a lot and you think they're great. And then a few months later, you need help again. And so then that's when you sign up with them, to do some more things. But
Exactly.
looking, I mean, they're like, go to AI, seriously. Like, it'll tell you all the different websites that have, certification and things that may be specifically that you are looking for. And it will give you some specific, at least not necessarily people, but it will give you some websites to go to look for, coaches that might be able to help you. And then
Well,
just
that's
read their
good advice.
profiles.
Yeah, that's really good. Are
Mm-hmm.
there any red flags that people, in your opinion, that people should look out for when looking for a coach?
Red flags. I mean, I haven't been coached a ton, and I've liked all the coaches that I've done. Red flags, I guess, some people have told me that they don't like it when it's all about the money. But then again, it's, this social norm, market norm. And so people, coaches do need to be paid for their time and the certification process that they have gone through.
Right.
So, you have to kind of just decide for yourself
Well,
what is
Becky,
it? I don't think there's any specific red flags that
well, and
I
it's
would put out.
interesting because now that I've asked you that question, I'm thinking back and I have had, maybe a handful of coaches for different things, as Jody being the one for coach training, but I can remember sort of the sales call, with a different coach. And it was so long and so lengthy and so I felt like sick the whole time.
So was it more like her centered or
It
something?
was just so much pressure.
Yeah.
That's how I was interpreting it, obviously.
Hmm.
But it just like, this does not feel good. This doesn't feel like a conversation. Like I'm trying you on, you're trying me on. It did not feel like that. It felt like a hardcore, when you go and buy the car and you got the guy who's just like on you and the terms and all of that. And it was not a pleasant experience at all.
No.
It was
Yeah.
horrible. But
Yeah.
I think ideally a conversation where this is what I'm about. What are you looking for? Let's talk. Is this a good fit for you? Okay, let's go or not go. Whatever.
Yeah.
It should
Yeah.
not be, don't want it to be this arduous, painful thing.
Yeah. No, it should be easy. It should feel easy, like a conversation. I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And for those who want to become coaches, what's one thing that you wish you'd known before you stepped into the role of being a coach? Is there
Well, this
anything
is
you wish you'd known?
this is a good and a bad thing, I think. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I thought that I had it kind of figured out, like that I was going to be really good at this. And the first day, and the way that she was talking about it, I was like, oh, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And I think the biggest part of it was staying out of the model or staying out of their circumstance
Right.
and letting it be, neutral and also just staying quiet. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm I'm a talker. I like to talk. I like to, I figure things out as I talk through it, and so
Right.
that has been a little bit of a challenge. Is to, I'm a good listener. I feel like too. But at the same time, I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I thought I was a really good listener, and I've learned. There are things to learn, which actually is a good thing. I have kind of learned that there's no growth without challenge. And Ina Garden, she was the Barefoot Contessa.
Right.
She talks about her, like, when she first started Barefoot Contessa, and she was so busy for like the first 2 weeks, she was just running ragged and, talking to her husband about it. And he said to her, if this wasn't a challenge for you, you would quit after 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, that is so me. I need to have a challenge. So to feel like, I want to have growth. And so, yeah, I'm getting the growth and it's great. But to keep that mindset of like, this is growing. This is not me failing. This is just me, doing the best I can. And this is growth.
Right. Right. And sometimes growth is not necessarily easy, and it's not necessarily without its frustrations or
Mhm.
feelings. I mean, for sure. Like
Yeah.
you came into this thinking, I think I kind of know what this is all about. I'm going to be really good at this. And then it's humbling to realize, oh, I really should listen more.
Yeah.
And I got some of that same feedback. So yes, and that's why we're in it, and that's why we're practicing so that we can get that feedback so that we can be better.
Right. And it's not just about coaching, it's about life too. It gives you
Yes.
a lot of
Oh,
help for
yes.
life. Yeah.
For sure. So the harder than you thought it was going to be is the listening. Is there anything that was easier than you thought it was going to be?
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess finding the time to do all of it hasn't been as difficult as I thought. And in
that's
fact,
good.
I've felt so much more able to be in control of my schedule since I've learned how to do it or
Oh,
how to think about it
right.
than before. So yeah, I guess that's been easier.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
great. Becky,
hmm
where can people find you?
So, Sendy Mom is my podcast. It's also the website and my social media and YouTube channels. So, yeah, go and take a look at all of that. I've had some incredible conversations with wonderful women and one with my son, which was really fun.
Oh, I'll
And
have to look that one up. How
yeah, that was
fun.
fun. And then also and there's links to my coaching from sendymom.com, but you can also go to beckybcoaching.com.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Becky, what a pleasure this has been. You have so much to share, so much to help us feel inspired and encouraged, and how it's okay to not get it. It's okay to not be right. I think that's one of my takeaways from this whole thing is it's okay to do it wrong. It's better to do it wrong than not do it at all because you're
Yeah.
going to learn. You're going to learn a ton from doing it, quote unquote, wrong, which is there really any such thing? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's good. Well, thank you very much for having me. It has really been a pleasure and so fun to get to know you better, Rochelle.
Me too. Right there with you. All right. Thanks, Becky.
Okay, bye bye.